actually going to be harvesting seeds out of zucchini and squash. And so it's been a couple days since we had went out and picked our zucchini and squash, so we had some really large ones, which actually makes for really good seed saving because the seeds are a little bit larger. And so this is what we ended up with, a really large yellow squash and a really large zucchini. And so we are going to cut these open today and get those seeds out. I've got my helpers with me today, and they're going to pick through and gather those seeds for me. And we're going to kind of show you that process of saving those seeds. Are you ready?
Yes.
All right, so let's go ahead and do our yellow squash first. So first what we're going to do, we're going to cut it open, and then I'm going to let my helpers pick through them. All right, so I'm going to start by cutting off the edges. See all these beautiful seeds are in there. We will discard all the seeds that I actually cut through. We only want to keep the whole ones. I'm going to get a spoon and then we're going to scoop out these seeds and let these kids pick through them. Alright. So I got me a spoon and I'm just going to go through and just kind of scoop out all that meat in the middle along those seeds. And I'm going to just put it on there. I've got paper towels labeled for squash. Since we're doing zucchini also, we don't want to get them mixed.
Seeds. How did you have one? What was it? I see.
Alright, so I've got one scooped out completely, and here is all that meat. And so, let's see if I can show you. But they are actually a decent size. This is perfect size for harvesting. We are going to let them pick through them and just place them on their paper towel. And then I'll probably rinse them and also get them out to dry. Alright, so I have one scooped out for Brayden. So he is kind of picking through and gathering up those seeds. I'm going to do another one for Riley. Let me have your paper towel, please. And that way he can start picking through these as well. Alright, so there is the other half. And I'm just going to let Riley pick through these. Alright, here you go, bud. Good job, Brayden.
It's hard.
Is it hard?
Yeah.
No, it's not.
Huh?
Keep going. How's it going, boys?
What?
Is it a lot?
Yes. Mama, I want more of this.
You want more?
Yeah.
Oh, you gotta pick them out.
Oh, no.
That was a lot. Here, there's a few more right here. I'm trying to find them. As long as they're not being cut. This is a great activity for your little ones to get involved in because it keeps them busy. And who doesn't love to pick through and get their hands dirty?
Mama, I'm gonna wash his hair. I'm gonna put this. Okay, good.
Can you say squash?
Cross.
Squash.
Cross. We're picking up squash.
There's one.
I can't find them. Do you want this?
Alright, I think we've pretty much picked through
All the seeds.
and gathered up the large ones.
No,
We're going to leave those small ones behind. This is plenty for us to use next year. This is more than we need. So we might be able to share with some family and friends. But now what I'm going to do, I'm going to gather up the ones that they have collected, and I'm going to rinse them off really well and get off that extra meat that might still be attached. We harvested these. Did we pick these yesterday? Yeah, we picked these yesterday morning. So they have been on the counter for a day. And the meat, since they were so large, they've kind of dried out. And I feel like that makes it a little bit easier to kind of pick through. The seeds kind of just come out that when the meat's kind of dried out a little bit. Not so fresh.
Hi, Mama, look.
That's okay. Mama's going to gather them up and I'm going to rinse them really good, okay?
Okay.
All right.
Hard.
Alright, so I have just made me a bowl of water and then I have a strainer right here. We're going to gather up seeds, put them in here, dip them in there, and try to clean them off. Any of that extra meat, we want to be sure and get that off. And then we're going to lay them out flat to dry. Alright, can you pick them up and put them in here? Okay. But for the most part, they're really clean. So I'm able to, once I've kind of mixed them around, I can see the meat that's still attached, kind of floating around. I can pick that out.
See me?
So this right here is kind of the meat of the squash.
Oh, me.
Meat.
Milk.
The meat. For seed savings, we don't want that in here, so we want to make sure the seeds are pretty clean. Alright, so I have got my seeds all rinsed and picked up probably 90% of that meat. There's still a little bit on here and I'll kind of pick through it as I'm laying them out. But I'm going to set them on a paper towel to dry, and then I will move them over to a cookie sheet. This is just to absorb that moisture from rinsing them. I'm just going to kind of spread these out and let them absorb, that paper towel absorb that moisture, and then we will transfer these over to that cookie sheet. Alright, so as you can see, my helpers have now abandoned me, but we still have a zucchini to do. So I'm going to cut this one open and repeat that same process of picking through those seeds as well as rinsing them and getting them laid out to dry. Alright, so I am picking through the zucchini. I'm noticing that the seeds aren't quite as big as the yellow squash, but I'm still finding plenty for us to harvest and save for next year. Alright, so I think I have found most of the seeds out of the zucchini. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and put them in my strainer, give them a good rinse, try to get off any of that extra meat off, and then again I'm going to lay them on a paper towel to absorb that moisture before I place them on a cookie sheet. So it is later in the evening. I have let these sit all day on the counter to absorb any of that moisture from cleaning them, and I'm just going to place them on parchment paper. I've got it labeled for squash and zucchini, and that way I don't get them confused. And then I'm going to go take this cookie tray and place it in a dark, cool place for it to sit for the next week or so. So I've got my zucchini done. I'm just going to lay this directly on top, and I'm going to do my squash. Alright, so that wraps up our seed harvesting for our zucchini and squash. I hope y'all enjoyed it. Please like and subscribe, and we'll see y'all next time.